Kriss here with MTR Network, and I'm back to review Aaron Sorkin's directorial debut, Molly's Game, starring Jessica Chastain and Idris Elba. Stay tuned. Welcome back to another review by me, Kriss, the editor-in-chief of MTR Network, and I'm recording this on Christmas Eve, so happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, happy I'm just here to get drunk off of eggnog, happy why did you give me this ugly Christmas sweater I'm never going to wear again, happy my family gets on my nerves and I have to swallow my emotions and deal with being asked why I'm not married yet for the 20th year in a row. You okay? I'm fine. You sure? Fine. I'm just saying it's perfectly normal to be over 30 and not married. Maybe you should go get some of that spiked eggnog. Anyway, like I was saying, I'm here to review Molly's Game. This is the true story of Molly Bloom, an Olympic-class skier who ran the world's most exclusive high-stakes poker game and became an FBI target. The film stars Jessica Chastain as Molly Bloom, Idris Elba as her attorney, Charlie Jaffe, Kevin Costner as Molly's father, Larry, Michael Cera as player X, Jeremy Strong as Dean Keith. It's based off a book Molly wrote, which I believe is also called Molly's Game, about her ordeal, and Aaron Sorkin also wrote the screenplay for it. Sorkin also directed this film, and it's his directorial debut. This is actually shocking to me, because you hear Sorkin's name so much with so many films like The Social Network, Moneyball, you forget he's the writer and not the director. It's just one of those things that you just assume that he's directed before, but no, this is his first time. And I have to say, for a first time out, he did a hell of a job. So let's get into what worked for this film. Molly Bloom was a world-class skier whose dream of making it to the Olympics fell short with a horrific accident during a ski run. After recovering, she decided to delay going to law school to head to LA for a bit, and she took up a job as a cocktail waitress and also being the secretary for Dean Keith, who introduced her to the world of private poker games. The film follows how Molly went from running perfectly legal games to getting in trouble with the FBI to being dragged into a RICO indictment with the mob. Sorkin tells the story in a pretty interesting way. After the intro that shows what happened in Molly's ski career, the story unfolds in two ways. There's the present with Molly and Charlie dealing with her current indictment and flashbacks that then chronicle how Molly got into the situation she's in, starting with her working with Dean Keith. For the most part, this works out pretty well. This type of film showing a character who's gotten arrested for a crime and how that happened is usually reserved for male characters. Earlier this year, we had Tom Cruise with American Made, which kind of did the same thing, but with the linear storytelling. And that's usually the downfall I have with these kind of films. I feel like if Molly's Game had done it linearly, I feel as though we wouldn't have gotten the full picture of Molly's character, and the end might have fallen flat a little bit. But seeing her as she's working the games and then starting her own to then being broken but still weirdly confident and arrogant all throughout the movie, it makes, in a way, her character more sympathetic, and you definitely allows me to understand her more. Like, one of the problems I have with some of the other films, like for instance American Made, is that character, there's no likability to that character whatsoever. Having that likability for these kind of characters who are criminals and who did do something wrong, I think that's key to making these films work. And I think the way they tell the story so you get the full picture and see that there's more to Molly than you think, I think that really does help with this kind of story, and you really start feeling something for the character. That's not to say that this was perfect. There were definitely some times when Molly and Charlie would be arguing over some event, and we wouldn't see that event until much later on in the film, thanks to flashbacks. Also, there's not a whole lot of explanation as to why Molly got dragged into the RICO arrest for the mob to begin with. I mean, yeah, they explain it, but the casing is pretty absurd and pretty weak to begin with. Like, at one point, the DA says that they had the mob's text messages asking for Molly, and Molly and Charlie both point out that they're asking for the drug Molly, not Molly Bloom. Now, part of me thinks the connections with the mob thing in this film are away for two reasons. One, it's the mafia, so why put a target on your back even more by throwing them on a bus? So, like, I wouldn't want to do that. But two, I think the screenplay is based largely off of Molly's book, and according to Molly, there just really wasn't a huge connection to the mafia outside that some of them were playing in her games. And so her thing was, like, I didn't know they were mobsters. I didn't know they were the mafia. I'm not really involved. You guys are dragging me into something, and there's no real connection there. And I kind of think that that's probably more along the lines of what really happened there, is that this is really just a woman who kind of got dragged into this indictment and really didn't have any real connections there. Jessica Chastain is fantastic as Molly Bloom. She does a great job of getting you to care about Molly and making Molly relatable and likable. I was saying this before. That's a huge problem with some of these films like this, especially the ones that star men. The guys are assholes. When they're finally taken down and arrested, you're almost cheering. You're basically cheering against them. But Chastain's Molly. You're rooting for her. There's a common sex subtext in this where Molly's whole motivation in what she's doing is because men are trash. At every step of Molly's journey, you can point to a man, whether it's her father, her boss, Dean Keith, a player who treated her horribly, and instead of sulking, Molly picks herself up and goes out to prove them wrong and that she's a winner. It's weirdly inspirational. In fact, Whitney Peak plays Charlie's daughter, Stella, in this film, and she basically looks at Molly as a hero, and rightfully so. Molly took what was a man's game and flipped it into a multi-million-dollar enterprise that, for the most part, was legal. And it's easy to feel that inspiration when the performances Chastain puts in. I mean, she makes Molly determined, smart, well-read, and fearless. If this year's Best Actress race wasn't already stacked, Chastain would definitely be a frontrunner. But she's not alone in her performance. Idris Elba does a great job as Charlie Jaffe. He's one of the few men that sees through the tough exterior of Molly and sees the real person underneath. And he doesn't back down from her strong personality. And the relationship goes from him being skeptical of her to really understanding that underneath, she's really a good person that got caught up in something that got out of hand.
You think I should do it?
You gotta let me keep you out of prison.
You've seen what's on those hard drives.
Yeah.
It's a lot more than a little color.
Yeah, but complete immunity. All right, you get all your money back. You'll be the first defendant to walk out of a courtroom better off than when you walked in.
Two more performances I thought were really great. One, Kevin Costner as Molly's hard-nosed father. He's super unlikable for most of this movie, but towards the end of the film, there's a really great scene that explains why Larry was so hard on Molly. And while it still makes him pretty shitty, it's a closure moment that shows that he really does love his daughter. The second performance is Michael Cera as Player X. Look, Michael Cera, when he's playing it straight up and not trying to be funny, is actually kind of scary. Because he looks like this regular, unassuming dude, but then he turns almost evil and sends a chill down your spine. At one point, his character, Player X, tells Molly that he loves playing poker not because he loves the game, because he loves destroying people's lives. Now, that's some chilling shit coming from anybody. But coming from Michael Cera, that's downright frightening.
Between you, the dealers, and the servers, you're taking a lot of money out of this game.
Not as much as I'm bringing to it.
That $10,000 is $10,000 that doesn't go in my pocket.
Again, my money.
Your money is my money.
Is it?
I think we should talk about capping your tips.
I'm giving Molly's Game an 8.5 out of 10. Molly's Game, to me, is a great movie. Any other year, I feel like this would be a serious talk for Best Picture. But this year, it's just so stacked, it probably get lost in the sea of other great movies. The performances are wonderful, and Molly's story is pretty great. It's funny, Molly's Game is one of the several films that have come out this year that I feel like they've been perfectly timed for the climate we live in. There's The Post, Get Out, Darkest Hour, Three Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri, and others that just fit this time with their different themes and different subject matters in those films that just fit it. Molly's Game can definitely be seen as an inspiration to women who find themselves constantly being berated and told they aren't worth anything by men. That's what this film feels like, and it really just, it nails it, and you feel that. You like, the men are trash, and you're like, hey, well, this kind of feels like today's society. There you all have it. That is my review for Molly's Game. Make sure you like the video and leave a comment with what you think. We have a lot more content coming out, both on this channel and on our podcast, so subscribe to this channel and to our podcast, Movie Trailer Reviews, and I will be back later soon. Peace.